for Success Radio, raising the profile of employee engagement and shining a light on good practice for people who believe there's a better way to work.
Well, hello and welcome to Engage for Success Radio, show number 613. Today's topic is demystifying AI. So hello, I am your host for today's show. I've got a very special guest to introduce to you shortly who's really going to help us specifically demystify the topic that is very much on everyone's lips at the moment. I'm one of your hosts of Engage for Success Radio, Jo Moffat. For those of you who aren't too familiar with Engage for Success, a little bit about us. We are a not-for-profit movement. We are the UK's leading voice on the topic of employee engagement and setting out to raise awareness and run events through area networks as well as online through our topic and sector-specific thought and action groups. And very importantly, developing research, publishing case studies and evidence around the importance of employee engagement to not only organisational success, but also the health and well-being and enjoyment of work for those who are working there. And this radio show is very much part of that stream, that channel of communication, where we look to shine a light on great practice or illuminate topics that are very much of interest to our listeners. Visit us at engageforsuccess.org, where you can learn more and you can sign up for our weekly newsletter as well. So I'm one of Engage for Success's volunteers. All of us who are involved in the movement are volunteers. We have no full-time or paid employees at all. So we all have day jobs. And mine is that I am founder of Woodreed, which is a specialist creative consultancy that I sold recently, has now rebranded as 7Cs, the culture consultancy, but I'm still very much involved in a consultancy capacity. So I get to do what I love, which is really helping clients create great places to work, high performing cultures of engaged employees. So it's all things employee engagement, employee experience, and of course, internal communication. So I promised you a special guest, and he certainly is. Today's guest is Antonio Weiss. Antonio is an AI, digital and tech expert. He's advised numerous leading UK and international institutions on major tech transformation, including the NHS, the Office for Artificial Intelligence, the UK government's digital service, and anyone who's experienced the UK gov.uk services, web services, will know just how successful that has been, as well as the UK Space Agency, which sounds very interesting. So Antonio is a senior partner at the PSC. We'll hear a little bit more in a moment about who they are, but he's also a published author. In fact, today's title, Demystifying AI, is his latest book. But he has a raft of credits to his name for his writing. Shortlisted for the CMI Book of the Year award. He was a #1 UK WHSmith Business Bestseller. He's won the Business Book of the Month award and translated into many languages around the globe. He's a PhD for the University of London and holds a research post at the Bennett School of Public Policy at the University of Cambridge, focusing on digitisation. So clearly knows his stuff. So I'm very much looking forward to the next half hour. So welcome, Antonio.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be joining you, and I'm always blush with that intro, so no pressure.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing what you've got to say. I honestly don't think there's a conference or an industry event or a webinar that I have been to or been invited to in the last 2 or 3 years that hasn't had AI somewhere, either as its overarching topic or very, very high on the agenda. So, it's something which nobody can fail to know about, but particularly I think from the people aspect of organizational culture, it's something that's really going to need to understand and take account of. So I know I gave you a big build up, but just tell me a little bit about how you and how you got to where you are now, and especially tell us who PSC are.
Well, thank you. Well, at PSC, we very proudly now will be celebrating our 20th anniversary in January. Goodness, and we have existed with one.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. One mission, which is to make public services brilliant and deliver lasting public impact. So over the years, that's meant working with lots of great public institutions like the Space Agency or the NHS or the Department for Education or councils or others, on a wide variety of either strategic questions, where to build a new hospital, to big, exciting transformation work, like how do you move care for people out of hospital and into the community, through to building and running and hosting and maintaining complex software, which is what I spend a lot of my time helping with. So that's been the bulk of my professional career. That now, gosh, over 18 years with the PSC. But alongside that, I've done some various books and writing, mainly for the Financial Times, a bit with Kogan Page as well, which is really about how do you make new technologies simple or simpler to understand for managers and leaders, and give them guidance practically for how to use things like AI, or what to think about when people talk about quantum computing or cyber risks, and then alongside that, bit of academic work and some wider political advisory as well.
Lovely, thank you for that. Interesting, and what a time to be involved in all of this. I mean, it's very much of the moment, isn't it? I mean, it strikes me. I often hear organizational leaders talking about, oh, we'll get the tech will sort that out, and we're introducing some new software, we're introducing a new platform, we're introducing some new tools, and that will sort that out. And there's almost sometimes it seems to me anyway, a sense that the tech is the solution in and of itself. And I always feel like I really want to scream out, no, you've got to think about the impact on your people. And if you don't take your people with you on these transformational journeys that your ambition is to deliver, then these things are never going to deliver what you hope they're going to deliver, are they? Do you hear that too?
I hear that, and well, I suppose it gives me something to do with my time, which is to try and help people avoid that mindset, and if they have it, to change it, because I completely agree. The evidence and the experience of everyone is really clear. Like, lots and lots of studies have shown, but all of our personal lived experience will reveal that the vast majority of digital transformation efforts, implementing a new CRM system or a new SAP or Oracle or otherwise system, or building a new app, the vast majority, probably close to 90% of transformation efforts in the tech space, fail. And they fail to deliver their benefits, and they fail to deliver it on time, and they fail to deliver it within budget. And that's not because anyone's done a terrible job. It's just the way it is. So assuming that tech is going to solve everything is unfortunately a very misguided starting point. And then assuming that AI in particular is somehow any different to any other tech. It has different characteristics, I'll grant you that, and we could talk a bit more about why, and it's arguably going to be more revolutionary than other technologies. But it's the same principle. The starting point is, this is really hard, and if you assume that tech will solve everything without doing the hard yards of bringing people along, working out what the problem is you're trying to solve, doing the good business basics of what's the return on investment and when, and how do we manage the supply as well, you're onto a hiding to nothing, I'm afraid.
The business basics have not changed. The tools we might use clearly will and have, but you still have to do those. You still have to have those fundamentals underpinning it all, basically.
Exactly, and I, just on exactly that, right now, as of November 2025, lots of people in the financial world, particularly on the Western perspective, I do a bit of work globally on this, and it does vary. But a lot of people are saying, oh, is there an AI bubble, or is there a tech bubble? And one of the reasons why they ask this is because they're unclear where the return on investment is going to come, or when it's going to come. And it just seems blindingly obvious to me that if that question is not well answered, or the question of if AI is intended to displace and looks to be displacing early career jobs, what happens to those people? If there's no good answer for that, it's not because there's a really clever answer that somebody's not revealed to the world yet. It's just because there isn't an answer yet. And those basics of business, but more broadly critical thinking, they still need to be covered. They still need to be addressed.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that particular question, actually, and I wouldn't mind just exploring that a little bit with you. The question of early talent, early years talent. Particularly, I'm thinking about things like the law, marketing, an awful lot of postgraduate careers where people would go in at that kind of entry level. They do the kind of grunt work, the admin work, that what they might feel wasn't particularly, I mean, accountancy too, I guess, as well. You know, a lot of those sort of basic tasks that nobody's going to be terribly excited about doing, but it's part of the kind of apprenticeship for you, for your profession, and also learning what it's like to work in an organization, learning what it's like to have colleagues, learning what it's like to get people to do things for you when you're actually junior to them or don't have any line responsibility for them. And it's that's that kind of those grafting years that slowly train and nurture our managers and leaders and executives and business leaders for the years to come. And so there is a concern, isn't there, about, well, how are we going to grow this talent if if those opportunities are so reduced? And I guess, you know, organizations have to think very carefully about that, don't they? That doesn't mean to say they shouldn't use the tech or introduce the AI, but that they have to be much more intentional about thinking, well, how are we going to train our future talent, and how are we going to engage them and involve them in learning all of those skills that historically they might have learned through doing. They've got to learn it in a different way, but that doesn't mean to say we shouldn't be doing it, does it?
No, not at all. And I would argue that the question about thinking about what do they need training and supporting needs a question before that as well, which is actually, do their roles have to change because we have these technologies, which are, I should say, you know, I set out relatively early doors in AI Demystified. I think the technology is amazing, absolutely amazing. And by AI, I'm really focused on generative AI in the book, although obviously I've worked across AI in all of its different fields. I don't think it's a particularly good thing for the world, but that's a separate issue. But it is better than, you know, average or even expert humans at tasks like you know, fact checking, data summarization, large scale, you know, research. So for those legal or accounting questions, it is incredibly good already. So the question that employers should be, I think, asking is, okay, well, these maybe quote unquote lower value added administrative tasks can now be automated. So what are we going to change about the roles for those early career jobs, which means they're focused on higher value added activities? And how do we make sure that they are ready to focus on higher value added activities, which might be some of the softer or more grey areas of nuance and engaging with clients? How do we make sure that they're ready to do that from day one? And that will require almost certainly a different training and support onboarding process to what they've had before. And these are big changes. You know, every time a new technology emerges, and I put out in the book that, you know, we've had the privilege of actually, unusually in human history already, all of us, most of us have lived through the smartphone and internet revolution. So we should learn what we've learned from those. We got to rethink how people work, and not assume that what we've got at the moment will be fit for purpose in the age of AI.
Yes. And isn't that in a way what was the silver lining, albeit an unwanted silver lining, of the global pandemic? It actually forced at a much faster pace people to think hard and intentionally about how they were going to get their organizations to deliver the work that they needed to deliver to their customers, their consumers, or whoever, or the services that they need to offer. It kind of forced that in a lot of sectors, albeit at a bit of a price, to say the least. But it did do that. So it kind of, what do they say? The pandemic delivered 15 years of digital transformation in 2 months or something.
Yes, although I would say, I mean, already we see like lots of places going back on some of that. So
I know.
And maybe not, maybe not learning as carefully as possible some of those lessons. But I agree. Again, it shows the point that human ingenuity. We shouldn't write off human ingenuity for the ability to meet these challenges, because by and large, the world did keep turning, even during a pretty astonishing and terrifying global pandemic. So we should take confidence. We should have confidence that we can meet the challenge, but it is a challenge. Like every single industry, I think it's very hard to imagine any. So one of the exercises that I suggest clients and organizations do is to take any verb, and just ask the question, could AI help in this? And it's almost, I struggle to think of almost anything in which it couldn't help to some extent. Now, whether the costs and the risks that you incur from using AI are less than the benefits it generates, well, that's a different and very important question. But from ideating to prototyping to researching through to cooking, AI can help you with your nutrition plans, with your meal prep, with your purchases. It won't physically cook stuff for you.
Not yet.
Not yet. Although actually some devices do have various elements of kind of machine learning built into them. So maybe it does help a bit. But everything's going to be transformed by this. Everything.
Absolutely. So your book, Demystifying AI, I think I must get hold of a copy of it actually and have a good read. Tell us a little bit about what drove you to write that, Antonio.
Yes, so well, it's now, goodness me, my fifth book, and I've always felt that, particularly in the business space, what's the biggest category of working professional? We've got a lot of managers in Britain, and actually, maybe managers haven't had the support that they've needed or could have had over their careers. There's lots of chat internationally that the UK maybe has underserved its managers.
Talking about the accidental manager, for example.
The accidental manager.
We've actually, sorry to interrupt you there, but we've got an Engage for Success online event next Thursday on exactly this topic that's come out of our annual Engage for Success employment study. And one of the most recurring questions around how do we support our line managers. So anyway, I interrupted. Carry on.
No, not at all. That's perfect. Well, the books are precisely for that audience.
Right. Okay.
And they are trying to answer the question, like, when a new thing comes along, be it, as I say, new technology, could be AI, could be just channel shift to digital, which was the big issue 10 years ago. Through to cybersecurity or quantum, like it's overwhelming. You get bombarded with emails and pitches from consultancies and software agencies trying to sell you something. They create a new language. They make it very. They try and make it seem like magic because they want to scare you into giving up your agency and control to them so that you pay them to help. And my big thesis, I guess, for managers is, in order to be a better manager, particularly in the world of technology, you need to understand some of the basics of technology. Too often I hear, to our bit conversation earlier, I hear CEOs and leaders saying, yeah, the tech's going to change everything. I don't need to understand the tech. I just need to know it's transformative. And I just think that's not good enough. And that's true for leaders as it's true for managers. You need to understand, how does this stuff work? So long story short, AI Demystified tries to do three things. One is just explain some of the technical basics, the fundamentals of how does this technology work. When we say these large language models are trained on the open internet, how are they trained on it? What bits of the internet are they looking at? When we say we're going to create like a RAG retrieval model and we're going to train it, Microsoft Copilot on our own SharePoint stack, what's it actually doing? Where's it looking stuff up from? How does this stuff work?
And what does that mean? What is this language that our tech partners sort of fall into? What's it actually mean to a lay person?
Exactly.
And I heard somebody a few months ago talking about AI hallucinating, and honestly, I had to stop. I'd never heard that before, and I know from your point of view, it's probably terribly. You understand that absolutely. I'd never heard it before, and it took me a moment. I mean, not terribly long, a moment to realise what it actually was, the point that was being made. So there's a whole lexicon, isn't there?
Yes, exactly. There is, and And so, you know, I want to try and precisely that, you know, the book's called AI Demystified. So try and, you know, open and lift up the bonnet and show what's working underneath. Point one. Point two is then to say, actually, and this is the big chunk of the second part of the book, already industries across the world are using AI tools and they are delivering business benefits across a very, very, very wide variety of, as I call, use cases. You could say like problem sets or business issues. So from creating, you know, new video campaigns for marketing ads, through to language translation, real-time language translation, through to reducing the time and cost of software engineering. All of these things are already pretty mature uses of AI, and I want managers and business leaders to have confidence that someone somewhere has already solved their problem, and it may be slightly different and everyone's context is different, but let's learn from that. Let's take the insights, let's check what didn't work and find out what did, and then try and test it in our own organization. And then at the end of that, I just hope everyone has a high degree of confidence and understanding, like, what is this thing, what do I need to do differently, and how do I go into my next meeting and know what's a sensible next question to ask about AI.
Right. It's interesting. I mean, you talking about use cases and examples of where this is used. My background, my professional background over the years has been in advertising, and it was from advertising that I moved into the whole employee as an audience, and therefore internal culture and employee engagement. And I just thought it was fascinating. I reading the other day about WPP, you know, one of the biggest global ad agencies, and has spent the last few years developing its AI tools, and it's now selling those directly to its clients, so you can make your own ads. And it's like, whoa, hang on a minute, where's it? It's just it's to me it's heartbreaking in a way, but you know, I know I'm not going to be a Luddite about it, but it's just incredible that the world has changed that rapidly, that what was once, you know, the IP, the value is in the creative, the value is in the idea. You can use, here you are, buy this tool from us and do your own. And it's like,
Exactly.
wow,
No,
what a change.
I, you know, these business models are changing as we speak, and one of the lessons from the internet and the smartphone era, and you know, the classic Blockbuster versus Netflix case study is, I'm afraid, like, the world doesn't stop changing just because you've got a great business that's you know, profitable and working well today, and everyone has to, rightly or wrongly, keep up with those rapidly changing trends, and this is rapidly changing,
phenomenally rapidly. I mean, like, I think more rapid than smartphones and the internet, almost. I think, would you say?
yes, I know, indeed. So that's one of the, you know, I think it's hopefully in the first chapter, I hope I remember what I put in the book, is just saying, you know, of these general purpose technologies, so these things that have revolutionized society, which is everything from the motor car to the spoken word to the steam engine to electricity. You know, electricity, the light bulb is sort of, quote unquote, invented in 1879. So it captures and commoditizes the amazing potential for electricity. It takes 50 years until the 1930s for any actual societal and economic benefits to be really felt from that, because workers need retraining, factories need new layout, managers need retraining in order to work in those environments, and the grid needs to be set up. It takes 50 years for that to happen. Generative AI, there's already probably about 1.5 billion daily to, you know, regular users of these large language models. The speed of adoption is phenomenal. So it might not take 50 years. It won't take, you know, 1 year for the transformation to be felt, but it will be less than electricity. This is very, very fast.
Yeah. Right. We have got just over 5 minutes left, Antonio. So now that you've scared us all to death, apart from obviously reading AI Demystified, which sounds like a damn good read, so I highly recommend that to our listeners. In the 5 minutes we've got left, what should our listeners be thinking about doing in terms of how they start to embrace this brave new world, and how do they make sure that they don't lose the humanity of their businesses along the way, and make sure that they don't become one of the 90% that fail?
Gosh, yeah. Well, thank you.
Only 5 minutes. You can answer all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yep.
Easy. Well, we were talking before about, you know, that David Bowie quote about the internet in the, I think it was 1999. I should check that out. Where Jeremy Paxman, you know, is saying, "Oh, this internet's a flash in the pan," and Bowie says, "No, it's going to change everything. It's going to change everything." And I remember at the start of my career, there used to be guidance when you were going into consulting. And this was, you know, I guess early 2000s. And the guidance used to say, all these business questions, just remember the internet's going to change everything. Just like ask, how is the internet going to change whatever the business question is? So the first thing is, I think we all have to have our eyes open and ask ourselves the question, how could generative AI and older machine learning techniques change whatever it is that we do, and be really, I think, receptive to the fact that it very, very likely will do. So have the mindset that a revolutionary change is coming. How long it will take is a different question, but have that mindset. The second one is work out, and you should hopefully know already, based on your business, like what are the true bits of human value add to customers or other businesses, if you're B2B, that truly are exceptional, like, and try and distill that and be confident that you really know what those elements are. One of the challenges with AI, and we've seen this with quite a few customer service instances, is actually humans already prefer AI customer service to human customer service. Octopus Energy found that when they started implementing AI in their customer service, that the human customers preferred the AI responses to human ones. But anyway, work out what is the true human value add.
And Octopus have been voted best customer service for 7-8 years running or something. So
Indeed.
not doing them any harm, is it?
No, exactly. But, you know, work out where is the true human value add. And then the third bit that I would say is, wherever you think that you want to test whether a new technology, be it AI or something else, could help, it's so important to remember the basics of, you know, how good are we currently at this? How good is our customer retention currently? I don't know, 70%, 60%, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The next question is, let's try and see, does AI actually make that better? And if it does, do the costs and risks that we will incur from using it outweigh or are less than the benefits? And be really alive to the fact that maybe it's not right for us right now because of the way we're set up. But doing the hard work of understanding, you know, how good are we currently, is the first starting point. Because not everyone, but I hear a lot of clients who say, oh, you know, the AI might, as you said, hallucinate. It might make something up. It might give the wrong answer to a customer, so we can't use it. Well, you might work in a very heavily regulated environment where that is obviously a big risk, and we never want to give the wrong advice to customers, but we do that all the time, every single day. Faulty products, faulty medical devices, you know, the wrong information given to a customer. The legal industry wouldn't exist if everyone got everything right every day.
That's a fair point.
It's not that we're perfect. Our job is to try and make things better using tech, and work out if the use of tech is worth it. And that's a
good
important,
point.
difficult thing to do, but that's how we will improve.
Excellent. Lovely. Wow. 1 minute less than. It was 1999, Antonio, that Bowie said that. So the joys of being able to Google something while you're talking, which I did. So yeah, 1999, that famous quote, and he was it was prescient, wasn't it? And he was right. Mind you, he did come from another planet. So. Dear. Now that has been absolutely fascinating. Thank you very much for joining us and helping to demystify all of this. I'd love to have another. I wish we had another half hour, because I'd love to hear what you think's coming next that we don't even know about. But maybe that's a topic for another day, Antonio.
One for the future. No, I'd love to come back on.
Well, thank you. Let's try and arrange that. And thank you to our listeners for listening. Thank you to Antonio Weiss for being our very informative guest today and helping to demystify AI for us. Don't forget, you can download or stream any of the great shows from our archive at any time. Just visit engageforsuccess.org. That's where you can also get in touch with us if you want to get involved in the movement as well. And most importantly, our latest Engage for Success Employee Engagement Survey and Benchmark Index, the 2025 report into what is going on in UK workplaces, is out now and available for free download at the website, as with all our resources. No data walls, no money, no nothing. Simply go there and download and use. So that's it. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Engage for Success Radio, raising the profile of employee engagement and shining a light on good practice for people who believe there's a better way to work.